Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the National Guard Products 813 mill aluminum saddle type threshold. The 813 is representative of the profile of what I'm holding. Its dimensional properties are buried in the 813 part number, which is the width and the height, and its profile, its shape. This happens to be a 4-foot length and will serve as video purposes. That client will call and say, I didn't get the screws, and I'll say, sure you did, they were in the package. So the 813, that is a saddle type threshold that is called a saddle type because if you use your imagination, it kind of looks like a saddle, okay? It doesn't, but that's what a saddle looks like, where it's beveled down to 0 here, beveled down to 0 here. The 813, and there is an image below this video that shows the dimensional properties of the item. That means that it's 8-inch wide and 1/4 inch tall. 8-inch by 1/4 inch. And where would you use such a threshold? Well, anywhere where you needed a large saddle threshold. There's your 1/4 inch. Anywhere where you needed a large saddle threshold, 8 inches, pretty big, but you wanted it to be as flat as possible. This is handicap compliant, but so is 1/2 inch, provided that the rate of rise over run on this edge is compliant, but they all really are. But if you want something that's the original definition of handicap compliance, it would have been 1/4 inch. 1/2 inch was not the original 1992 definition of handicap compliance. Had to be a 1/4 inch is what I'm trying to say at one point. Where would you use an 8-inch wide? Well, anywhere where you had a deeper frame. Maybe you've got an 8 3/4 jam depth hollow metal frame and you are not going to put a 4-inch wide in there. You need something to be a bit larger so that it looks more appropriate. Or if you've got a 5 3/4 frame and you want to cope the profile of your frame in the threshold and then install it in, and why you would do that is to run this long across the face of the frame as well. Some clients like to do that because it helps protect the very bottom of the jam from getting that salt applied on it in those northern climates, and gives a little easier, better protection on the bottom of the jam. But coping is atypical, but it is nonetheless a reason why you might use something that's 8-inch. A couple of supports down here at the bottom, as you can see, and is available in different finishes. Now let's take a look. And before we get there, it is fire rated UL10B, UL10C, 3-hour and 90-minute. It's handicap rated. The wall thickness is 1/8 of an inch, and that's nice because it's thicker. The 1/8 of an inch, other thresholds, they'll be close to an 1/8 of an inch, but they might be 0.104 thick. This is an 1/8 of an inch, and that's considered, commercial grade, and it needs to be thicker in your defense. It's not just a marketing perspective from the manufacturer. You've got something wider, it's going to be stepped on, it needs to be thicker. There's a link below this video to the product brochure that will allow you to review the 813 saddle threshold against other common saddles from National Guard. You'll see the 913, you'll see the 1013, and you can probably guess, and the 713, guess how that width changes, 9, 10, 7-inch. You will see the 813 in the absence of any letters after it. That means it's in the mill aluminum finish like this one is. If you added DKB to the back side, you're going to get a dark bronze anodized finish over that. Okay, darker is how I would classify the National Guard dark bronze, not black, but in the ballpark. If you're looking for something really, really dark, National Guard's dark bronze would accommodate a darker sort of finish. But that link to the product catalog lets you review all of them from National Guard. And you might find that a different profile is more appropriate. Those 1/2-inch models are on the final page that's there. And you'll see the thickness of that material noted as well. You'll see architectural bronze thresholds, meaning solid brass. Those are also very interesting. Some smooth top items as well. Be mindful of that 5-inch smooth top. I don't recommend you use it. I've seen people slip the foot on that smooth top. You would use that only when it's specified for a particular type of application, would be my guess. So that's very handy. There is an image down below showing the cross section of this item. There is also a link called Installation Instructions that will allow you to review the overview of installation instructions. Measure, cut to length, screw it down, caulk it, that kind of thing. Not anything on that. That's probably what you already don't know. Certainly if you make a living installing commercial hardware. Now when it comes to lengths, we have them listed in the site, and everything from 2 foot to 8 foot. You can have longer than 8 foot if you like. We just don't list them because the cost to ship longer than 8 foot is generally prohibitive. But if you have need for 10 foot, 12 foot, 14 foot, whatever, we can accommodate that. But be mindful we'd have to quote the freight, and the freight is directly related to the length and not so much the quantity. If you needed 1 or if you needed 4, the cost to ship's probably going to be the same because it's a minimum generally in that sort of scenario. If you have need for a custom length, by all means let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field what length you'd want us to ship the material out at. Now the reasoning is if you had to take this 4 foot piece, let's say, and cut it to 40 inch, you're going to eliminate that countersink that's there. The next one's all the way over here. Maybe cutting this down is no big trick, but sometimes people drill that hole and then realize, oh gosh, I don't have a countersink. And speaking of that hole, screws are included in a complementary type finish. They look like they're number 10 by 1.5 inch flathead Phillips wood screws. And when it comes to fasteners, you'll obviously want to, by all means, let us know if you want a more robust anchoring system to come from the factory, such as machine screws and lead anchors. That can be done as an add-on. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to accommodate that. Otherwise, you'll be providing anchors. Okay. So if you ordered a custom length, we'll not only cut it to length, you're going to need more than a 7 1/4 inch chop saw to cut this. Be mindful because of the size. But we'll cut it to length. We will locate that first countersink or dimple at the proper distance from the edge and the proper center to center as well. Okay. So we'll be happy to accommodate that. The reasoning is the material's cut from long extrusion, so they don't care if it's 48 or 40 inch. It's all sold per foot, so it's priced on 40 inch. The advantage is that you're saving yourself the trouble of cutting it. And if you've got 1 to do, maybe no big deal. But if you've got 104 to do, it's a lot of work that you'll otherwise avoid. Notching, L cutting, things of that nature. Custom fabrication can be done. Reach out to us on all those things. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page within the site where you can pull up not only all of the National Guard products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I'm partial to National Guard, and it's because they focus on weather stripping, and they do a good job at it. They have a good cross-section of solutions, and generally when it comes to weather stripping and problem solving, if you don't make a living in this industry, start with opening up that catalog, literally scrolling through it and just looking at all the profile shapes, and then in your mind's eye, keep in mind that it's aluminum. It can be cut, it can be welded, it can be manipulated in lots of ways that other materials are not as easy to do. For instance, if you needed to make yourself a custom offset threshold like 6 3/4, you can flip that over and run it down a table saw and you'll have a custom offset, half saddle threshold. So be mindful of that. If you have any questions on the National Guard products, 813 in a mill finish, 8 by 1/4 inch saddle type threshold, or any other National Guard product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.